headphones if you would like to hear the gentle mic brushing. Okay. Now, before I get into tonight's case, I want to give a little trigger warning. So if you know you are sensitive to certain topics, I want you to be aware that this video will discuss some themes of taking one's own life, as well as the death of a child. Okay. Now, tonight I'm going to be covering the very, very mysterious case of the death of Rebecca Zahou back in 2011. This is a case that has been very highly publicized over the years. It's been covered on shows such as Dr. Phil, Dr. Drew, Nancy Grace, just to name a few. So let's go ahead and find out why. And we'll start with the background on Rebecca Zahou. She was born in March of 1979 in Burma. It was originally called Burma, but now it is known as Myanmar. She was the second eldest of 4 girls, and she came from a religious Christian family. They moved around quite a bit through her youth, spending some years in India, Nepal, and Germany. When she was 22, the family moved to the USA, specifically Missouri. Shortly after coming to the US, Rebecca met a nursing student at Bible College, and they married. Unfortunately, it was an unhappy marriage, and it was very on again, off again. But for whatever reason, she stayed in the marriage. Although I am not very clear on whether or not they remained living together through all that time. When she was 28 in 2007, she moved to Phoenix, and she started working at an ophthalmology clinic. She was still married. While she was working, she met a man who came in as a patient. His name was had been married twice before and was about 22 years older than her. He had 2 kids from his first marriage, and he had 1 child named Max from his second marriage. And Rebecca got along great with Max. She loved kids. Now, turns out that Jonah was super wealthy, like extremely wealthy, but she didn't know that in the beginning. So here's a little background on him. He was born in 1957, got a law degree. He worked for some years as the chief aide to the Committee on Health Policy in the U.S. House of Representatives. He served on 2 federal cabinet-appointed positions. He received many awards and honors and was a big philanthropist. He was also the founder of Medici Pharmaceuticals. So, as I said, they hit it off really well and their relationship was blossoming. He had a mansion in Coronado, California, which is not far from San Diego. It's a very elite area, very expensive. His mansion was so grand it had a name. It was called the Spreckels Mansion. This mansion served as kind of a getaway vacation spot. And during the summer of 2011, Jonah and Rebecca were spending some time there. So let's talk about the morning of July 11th, 2011. Jonah was out of the house, and Rebecca was there with Max, Jonah's 6-year-old son. Rebecca was currently 32 years old, and her sister Zena was visiting from Missouri. Her sister was a teenager at that time. So the 2 women were getting themselves ready in the morning, doing their morning things. And little Max was playing on the 2nd floor. He apparently was riding along on his scooter. And next thing they knew, there was a very loud noise. And the 2 women came out to see that Max was lying motionless at the bottom of the 1st floor. It's not 100% clear to anyone what exactly happened, but he was laying there, face down. His scooter was on top of him. There was a big chandelier on the ceiling which had broken and was laying around him. And he was, according to Rebecca, having trouble breathing. So she ran down there and she yelled to Zena to call 911. She tried to give him CPR. She claims that he was saying ocean, what sounded like ocean, to her. Ocean was it seemed like they thought that he might make it, or nobody was saying for sure he was going to pass away. And some of the family was even thankful to Rebecca for doing the CPR and felt that perhaps she had saved him. So, the next day, Rebecca brought her sister to the airport to go back to Missouri, and she picked up Jonah's brother, Adam, from Tennessee. He was a tugboat captain. He had come out to visit Max in the hospital. So, that evening, Rebecca, Adam, Jonah, and another man, a friend named Howard, they went out for dinner. Then Jonah went back to the hospital to sit with his son and his ex-wife named Dina, while Rebecca and Adam went back to the Spreckels mansion. Adam was staying in the guest house. So, at some point, apparently Max took a turn for the worse, and reportedly, although we have no proof, Jonah called Rebecca and left her a voicemail telling her this, and she played the voicemail at around 12:50 a.m. There's no record of it though, okay? There's a record she played a message. We don't know what it said or who it was from, but according to Jonah, that's the time that he had called her to tell her that Max was doing poorly. Now, July 12th, 6:48 a.m. Adam calls 911. He had left the guest house to go get some coffee from the main house, and he saw Rebecca hanging without any clothes from the balcony of the guest bedroom. So he had called 911 to report it. And what he said to them was, yeah, I got a girl hung herself. So they sent an ambulance and he cut down her body before they arrived. When they got to the scene, they found her laying there on the grass. She was unfortunately deceased. Both her hands and feet were bound, and she had a gag in her mouth and a rope around her neck leading up through the balcony into that bedroom, the guest bedroom. And then the other end of the rope was tied to one of the feet of the bed in that room. It was determined that she had passed away around 3 a.m. There were no drugs or alcohol in her body. According to Rebecca's family, she was not depressed. She didn't have a history of depression. She was a happy person. The kind of woman who was always smiling. And even in the face of seemed to think that it was a homicide and Max had been suffocated beforehand and then perhaps thrown over the railing. But everyone else was accepting of the fact that he had been playing on the second floor and for some reason had tripped and fell over the balcony, tried to grab the chandelier maybe, hit himself on a few spots along the way down, and ultimately fell. And there were no charges. Now, that was in 2011, right? But in 2012, his mother did hire her own medical examiner to look at the case again, and this doctor said that it was not an accident, in his opinion. But that being said, the case remains closed at this point and was labeled as an accidental death, sadly. They think that he might have tripped over either the dog or the soccer ball. Now, what happened to Rebecca? This is something that still remains a mystery, but here is what they were talking about at the time. The San Diego medical examiner was pretty sure that she had taken her own life. They felt that she was so distraught about Max's condition, taking a turn for the worse, and was blaming herself. So she took her own life. And that she tied herself up with these ropes. They showed how it was possible to do all these fancy knots, leave it a little bit loose for her own hand to come out and complete whatever she had to, and then slip her hand back in, pull a string and tighten it. They had found 4 spots of head trauma, and it was felt that she had hit her head on the way down. The fractures in her neck were due to having hung herself. And there was a painted note on the wall of the room which said, "She saved him. Can he save her?" While they weren't quite sure what it meant, they felt it was indicative of her taking her own life somehow, because she also had black paint on her hands when she was found. And she did use paint a lot. She painted similar to Adam's handwriting in certain ways. It was found that the spot where the rope was tied to the bed should have moved quite a bit if she had hung herself, but it had hardly moved more than a couple of inches. You could tell from, I guess, the carpet marks on the floor. So that was suspicious. Plus, what a strange way to take one's life. On the other side of the argument, it was felt that perhaps she had done all these things, tied herself up and gagged herself to prevent herself from changing her mind. So around 7 weeks after her death, the case was closed and it was ruled a suicide. Spreckels, first of all, of course, my heart goes out to the many, many people who are affected here. The victims, Max and Rebecca, and all the family members and friends. So what happened? Well, first, Max. I am pretty sure, not 100%, but I feel that was an accident. I don't see any reason why Rebecca would want to hurt him. So, for whatever reason, he took that horrible fall over the railing. I'm not sure exactly what was going on there, how he fell exactly, but I do believe it was an accident. And his mother is not really willing to accept that, as you could see, by her hiring a private medical examiner in 2012. But I think we often find that when someone dies tragically, the people who are left behind want to find someone to blame in whatever way they can. So I think that might be why she wasn't accepting it, that it was an accident. But then you might say, well, Rebecca was supposed to be watching him. True. But how closely does one watch a 6-year-old? When you're getting ready in the morning and you're doing your, bathroom routine, are you supposed to be watching a 6-year-old 24/7? I mean, this is just one of those unfortunate random type things that nobody could have predicted. I would imagine if she had seen him riding his scooter on the second floor near the railing, she would have told him, don't do that, it's dangerous. But regardless, it was an accident. Now, what happened to Rebecca? Personally, I find it very far-fetched that she would take her own life in this fashion. I understand what they're saying, that she did all that to prevent herself from changing her mind. But it's just too much. She gagged herself. She tied her feet together. And where were her clothes? That's something I didn't even really talk about, but she wasn't wearing any clothes. Why would she want to be found that way? At the very least, that wouldn't make any sense. Do I think Adam did it? First, let me say, he is innocent until proven guilty. But he certainly looks to be the guilty party. In my opinion, he might not even have killed her because he was angry about Max. It's possible that that had nothing to do with it. Could have been just that he went in there to sexually assault her. She fought back, things got ugly, and he wound up strangling her, and then he did this whole thing just to cover it up. That's possible. But then my question is this. Since it seems so ridiculous that they're trying to say she took her life, why is the police department there so adamant about so